What's up, everybody? The World's Preview Show continues here in Busan, Korea for the 2014 World Championship Quarterfinals.
Yeah, we started with 16 teams from around the world. This weekend there will be 8. Afterwards there will only be 4, and they all want some of that Summoners Cup.
And not only that, we've hooked over QuickShot and Freak from across the Pacific to join us here in Busan.
Yeah, what's up, guys?
So don't touch that browser.
The World's Preview Show starts right now.
Can anyone stop Samsung White? You have yourself a North American team into the quarterfinals. Will they be able to get it? Peke up from the Guardian Angel. A few more hits. Will this really happen? They saved the Nexus.
Welcome to the World's Preview Show, coming to you from the Bexco Auditorium in the dynamic Busan, Korea. I am Trevor QuickShot Henry, and joining me at the desk today is shoutcaster and pundit, Mr. David Freak Turley, Evil Genius's Chairbreaker, Mitch Crepo Forceballs, Counter Logic Gaming's AD Carry, Yiliang Double Lift Ping, along with On-Game Net Caster and Tinted Glasses Wearer, Christopher Monte Cristo Michaels. Guys, thank you for joining us, gentlemen, and welcome to Busan. Now, as you can see behind us, they are getting things ready for Friday's first quarterfinal series. So let's get this show rolling and take a look at the bracket. First up is one of the tournament favorites and the only team to make it out of the group stage, undefeated Korea's Samsung White. They'll be taking on North America's Team Solo Mid. And then on Saturday, White's sister team Samsung Blue will take on the other remaining North American team as they square off against Cloud9.
Then on Sunday, it's the rematch of the Chinese regional finals as Starhorn Royal Club batters Edward Gaming. And then on Monday, the quarterfinals come to a close with Korea's Najin Shield taking on China's OMG.
Now, a quick heads up about the dates on the bracket. Those are when the matches will be played here in Korea. And those dates will vary depending on where you watch the matches from around the world.
And so instead of giving you guys a geography lesson, we decided instead on a graphic that reminds you to head over to lolesports.com. Once you're there, click on the schedule tab and double check the dates and times the quarterfinals will be broadcast live in your region.
Yeah, very important you do that. But first, let's take a look at the first quarterfinal series. It will be Korea's Samsung White taking on the North American champions, Team Solo Mid. Samsung White was the #2 seed from Korea heading into the group stage, but based on their games, they were easily the best team in Taipei. White absolutely crushed their competition. Not only were they the sole team to go a perfect 6-0 in the group stage, but they had the highest team KDA with 10.72, the shortest average game times, 28.59, and the most dominant player, Imp. White's AD Carry amassed 57 kills and a ridiculous 14.14 KDA, the best of any player during the group stage.
And spawning on the other side of the rift in this best-of-5 match is going to be the North American champs and huge underdogs, Team Solo Mid. Now, even though TSM was the top seed in their group, they dropped games to Starhorn Royal Club and SK Gaming and finished second overall in the group. That being said, TSM does have the second fastest average game time of all the quarterfinalists, led by their mid laner Bjergsen, whose 7.0 KDA is third best among the mid laners in the quarters.
So we've set this one up, and this match will mark the first time that Team Solo Mid has faced a Korean team in the 2014 World Championship. And I want to ask you guys, what's your prediction on this matchup? Let's start with Freak, and we'll move down the line.
Well, honestly, I think it's going to be a little bit grim for TSM. They are lifetime 0-13 against Korean teams on LAN, so it's a grim picture for them, and I'm not sure they're even going to pick up their first win here.
Yeah, and it just seems like White outmatches TSM in every lane, but the closest one I would imagine is Bjergsen versus Pond. He can just pop off and carry. Bjergsen is like a really clutch player. He's really solid and consistent. He can carry a single game.
Yeah, going off that point, if you go down the bottom lane, that's where things get a lot less close, in my opinion. I think Imp and Mala are probably the best bot lane in this tournament. Imp has shown up to prove that he's one of the, if not the best AD carry in this tournament, let alone the world. And I don't think Wild Turtle and Lustboy have what it takes to match up against that.
Not only that, but I mean, we start talking about the jungle as well. Amazing. When we talk about him, he does tend to be fairly predictable as a jungler. He likes to camp in that mid lane. And Dandy Man, he is so good at getting reads, at researching his opponents, and setting up for counter ganks. That is his style. And Amazing's going to have to be really, really unpredictable to beat him at that game.
Now, Monty, I remember you saying something about White being a better version of TSM in many roles. Is that an opinion you still share coming into the quarterfinals?
I mean, absolutely. I think it's really undebatable. Yes, Bjergsen is a great mid laner, but he's a great mid laner in North America. Pawn is a top mid laner in a much stronger region. And yeah, Bjergsen can carry, but we kind of go down the list and we're like, well, these guys are good on TSM, but they are utterly fantastic on Samsung White.
Well, we'll see if TSM can step up. This is the second trip to Worlds for the members of Samsung White, and even though they've already improved on last year's performance, they are not satisfied with just making it to the quarterfinals.
This will be Gambit into the quarterfinals. Go wild, boy.
롤드컵이라는 무대까지 와서 막상 바로 탈락하니까 뭔가 어떡한 느낌? 나락으로 빠진 것 같아요. 세상에서 더 피하고 싶었어요. 너무 부끄러워가지고.
삼성 화이트 롤드컵 2위로 진출을 확정 짓습니다.
So Ozone, they won the spring season in the Korean League.
작년 롤드컵 때 조별 예선인 벌컨과의 경기였었는데요. 조일이 예상했었죠. 저 그때 당시에는. 8강 가면 4강 그냥 무난하게 가겠네요. 이런 식으로 생각했어요. 처음에 그냥 겜비타 때 졌을 때 롤챔스에서 졌던 거와는 다르게 좀 많이 와닿더라고요. 힘들게 왔는데
Gambit, they never let Ozone back in, and there is the surrender. Surrender, brilliant victory here from Gambit.
본능적으로 왜 이렇게 힘들지? 이렇게 싸우면 절대 못 이길 것 같은데 좀 이런 생각을 좀 많이 했었어요. 우리는 우리 실력이 어딘지도 모르고 잘하겠지 하면서 아직 우리가 처한 상황을 모르고 있어요. 픽을 뭘 해야 될지, 초반 운영을 어떻게 해야 될지 아무것도 준비된 게 없어가지고
Is going to be hit. That's a flash ball from Diamond. They've got him. Everything is burned. This will be Gambit into the quarterfinals. Ladies and gentlemen, in
박영수가 한 말이 있어요. 그냥 못하니까 지는 거였다고. 내가 나 스스로 뭔가 나에 대한 의심이 있는데 잘 안 되는 게 당연할 수밖에 없었던 거. 하루에 거의 한 6시간 자고 게임만 했어요. 나를 믿으면서 게임을 하다 보니까 우리 팀도 점점 올라가는 느낌이 들었어요. 롤드컵을 가기 위해서 순위 결정전이 남아있었는데 그 팀이 마침 전 시즌 롤드컵 우승자 팀인 SK텔레콤 팀이었어요. 페이커라는 그 이름 때문에 저희 미드라이너를 그렇게 신뢰를 갖지 못했어요, 제가. 미드라인을 계속 봤거든요, 게임을 하면서. 보면서도 그냥 믿기지 않았어요. 그냥 저희 팀 미드라이너가 폰인지 페이커가 우리 팀인지 막 우리가 지금 페이커랑 게임하냐고 너 페이커냐고 그냥 그런 식으로 계속 농담해줬어요. 결국 저는 페이커 선수를 솔킬 4번이나 따게 되었죠. 감독님이랑 코치님이 저를 안아주시더라고요. 이번에 진짜 잘하자고. 아, 우리가 다시 저 자리에 갈 수 있을까 하는 생각이었는데 결국 노력해서 오게 됐잖아요. 이번에는 달라진 모습 보여줄 수 있을 것 같아요. 꿈을 꾸기만 하기에는 이제 저희도 시간이 별로 없는 것 같고 이뤄야 되지 않나 싶어요. 우승하고 싶어요, 미치도. 결승은 무조건 가야 된다 생각해요. 그 무대를 한번 느껴보고 싶어요. 결승이란 무대를. 더 열심히 해서 꼭 우승할 수 있도록 하겠습니다. 파이팅!
Incredible video and 2 takeaways. Let's do it right. And they want to make it to the finals. I want to put this to the panel. In this matchup in the quarterfinal, who do you guys think is going to walk away with the win? I also want you to give me the series scoreline overall. Freak, who's it going to be and why?
Well, you said, are Samsung White going to make it to the finals? They'll at least make it to the semis. Samsung White, I think, easily has this matchup. I think 3-0 would be the scoreline here. they just vastly overmatched TSM.
Yeah, I have to agree here. There's really nothing that you can pinpoint that says TSM has an advantage in this area. It's going to be white 3-0.
Doublelift, you believed in Bjergsen. What is your prediction for the series?
I don't believe in Bjergsen that much. Yeah, it would be silly for me to bet anything on TSM. It's definitely going to be Samsung White 3-0.
And finally, Crepo?
Clean sweep here, I think. Samsung White 3-0.
Well, convincing opinions from the analyst desk here. Now, let's shift away from Samsung White to their sister team and our second cross-Pacific matchup. It is the favorites, Korea's Samsung Blue versus the other North American underdog, Cloud9. Samsung Blue came into the World Championship as the #1 team from the #1 region, making them the de facto kings of the hill to very many people. However, Fnatic proved to the world that Samsung Blue could bleed, handing the Koreans a surprising heavy-handed loss in the group stages. But despite that setback and some less than dominating performances, Samsung Blue did finish 5-1 with a 6.14 KDA, the second highest in the group stage. And while Dade got a lot of the love, it was actually Spirit who led the team and all junglers with a fantastic 9.8 KDA.
But on the other side of the rift is Cloud9. They drew into a very tense group alongside Korea Najin's White Shield and Europe's #1 team, Alliance. Cloud9 ended the group tied for first place, earning the first win by an American team over a Korean team for over 2 years in the process. Now, C9 earned their second straight trip to the quarterfinals at Worlds with incredibly smart strategic play. And despite having the worst team KDA out of the 8 squads here in Busan, they certainly got that by killing turrets more so than champions.
I really like that thought, Freak, because when you see C9 play, they are fairly strategic and, very mental team. Doublelift, when you look at this matchup against Samsung Blue, what is it that stands out to you about the two squads?
Probably the most notable matchup is, for me, Deft versus Sneaky, because they play very similar. They're kind of the consistent, solid carries of their team, but Sneaky hasn't really showed up, and Deft has. I mean, both of these AD carries aren't particularly good in 2v2, but I definitely think Deft holds that advantage. And also, Sneaky is just really a worse version than Deft in almost every way.
Well, for me, it's interesting to talk about the AD carries because to me, in both teams, the AD carries are sort of the glue for the team. Their big strength is their strategic play. They set up fights really well. They set up objectives really well. And the AD carries are there to play cleanup. They'll have great stat lines, but they're entirely set up by the intelligence of their shot callers.
Yeah, and talking about those shot callers too, we're looking at Dade and High here, both mid lane kind of primary shot callers on this team, and they've shown a lot of overlap in their champion pool, a lot of Zed emphasis, traditionally a lot of talent emphasis as this tournament rolls on, and I'm very interested in how this is going to go, just because Dade is a very conservative laner, and High kind of has a weakness in the laning phase, so if we get the 2v2 in the bot, if we get the 1v1 in the mid lane, then we're probably just going to see a lot of farming early. Now, I think that there is an advantage here for High since he tends to split push a lot more than Dade does, and that may be what allows Cloud9 to do well here.
Crepa, one final thought. We've talked about Cloud9 winning on blue side and struggling on purple side or red side. How difficult is this going to be for them in the matchup?
Well, they've had time to look over the matches and see what they did wrong already, so hopefully they learn their lessons. But they're definitely going to struggle because they're playing against a team that adapts well in best of fives already, and with the inferior side choice as well, so they're gonna struggle a lot. And
with that, what is your prediction for this series and why?
I think both teams, as Monty pointed out, are very similar in that regard. We'll see slow games, but I think Blue will take it 3-1. Cloud9 is basically just an inferior version, but with using the split push that Monty highlighted, that's one way they can break open these games, and that might be enough to win a game, but not more than one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 3-1 for Samsung Blue as well. They pretty much outmatched Cloud9 in every single lane, but you saw how well Cloud9 played from behind against Najin White Shield. They were down so much gold, but they still managed to split push their way into a win. I don't think they can take the series, but they should be able to take a game.
I agree with you guys. I do think it is going to be Samsung Blue 3-1, and I also agree that Cloud9 has a lot of interesting edges here. They could win the matchup. I wouldn't be wholly surprised. I could see it going anywhere from like 3-0 one way to like 3-1 Cloud9. I kind of averaged it out to probably 3-1 Samsung Blue, but really it could go either way. I do feel that.
Final thoughts, Monty?
I agree with you guys. I do think it's going to be that 3-1 for Samsung Blue. I really was quite impressed with the play that we saw from Cloud9, though, against Najin White Shield. Blue tends to be a more 5v5 oriented team. If a split pusher on Cloud9 gets out of control, if they come in with some 1-3-1 split pushing strats, I think they can take a game.
Well, there we go. Another clean sweep from the analysts, guys. We are just a couple of days away from seeing if these guys made all the right choices, and it's time to reveal which of you got last week's World Trivia question right.
And of course, this was an open book test, and thanks to the internet, a lot of you guys got a perfect score with Zyra, who was picked 42 times in 63 games during last year's World Championship. In fact, so many of you got it right that you're probably going to need to freeze frame this graphic if you want to see your Twitter handle.
Yeah, and for comparison, this year, Kha'Zix has the most picks so far with 36 out of the 48 regularly scheduled group stage matches. But this week, we're going to make you dig just a little bit deeper if you want to get your name on the preview show. So our world's trivia question is, which two players tied for the most deaths at last year's World Championship?
Be sure to send your answer to @LOL Esports on Twitter and use the hashtag Worlds Preview. Otherwise, it'll count as an incomplete, even if you have the right answer.
Right, we'll see if you can get that one right. Now, let's take a look at our third quarterfinal matchup as two Chinese powerhouses will do battle once more. It's Starhorn Royal Club and Edward Gaming facing off in a rematch of the Chinese regionals. Even though Starhorn Royal Club was China's second seeded team at Worlds, they were the region's best team in the group stage. They finished their time in Taipei with 5 wins, 1 loss, and the #1 seed out of Group B, led by Uzi's incredible 46 kills and 10.25 KDA over their 6 games. Royal Club put up a team KDA of 6.39. It is the 3rd best in the tournament thus far.
And they've been great, but on the other side of the rift is, of course, in this Chinese matchup, Edward Gaming. These guys are the 2-time Chinese champions and the regional #1 seed. But as we said before, they weren't quite as impressive in their group stage games. BDG was taken out by Samsung White twice and were upset by the GPL's AHQ Esports Club once as well, forced them to play a tiebreak match to even make it out of the group stage. They had a 4.41 overall team KDA, which ranks them 6th amongst the quarterfinal teams. The biggest actual surprise for this team was the underperformance of their superstar AD carry Name. He had 17 group stage deaths, which is the most for any AD carry here in Busan. However, Name and company are up against more familiar opponents this time around. They're going to hope to repeat their Chinese regional qualifier victory over Starhorn Royal Club.
This is a series I'm very much interested in looking into because both of these teams had different expectations coming in. Monty, start us off talking about the matchup and what you're going to be looking at.
Yeah, I think this is probably the hardest of our quarterfinal matches to predict because it is so even, because we have one team in Starhorn Royal Club that looks like they're on the rise and another team in EDG that really failed to live up to expectations. And when we look at a featured matchup here, we can talk about Uzi versus Name. Uzi played out of his mind, fantastic AD carry play, as his stats show. Name, on the other hand, disappointing considering how well he plays in China. He's really going to need to step up here, maybe lane swap away from Uzi just to get into that more late game status.
Yeah, that was actually what I was going to say as well. Name just didn't impress in group stages, and he will need to show up because EDG apparently is a lot better against teams that they know how to play against, that did their research again. They even said that in the interview. If I know my opponents, that's where my comfort zone lies, that's where my strength comes from. So we will need to see Name step up. But even then, I think the disparity between both teams shown in group stage was already big enough.
A lot of talk about AD carries. Double F, can you chime in?
Well, I'm just keeping my eye on FCCF and Zero, actually, because these guys are so different. FCCF had an underperforming AD carry, so he really had to step up and make those plays. If anyone's going to make the play or the initiate, it's probably going to be FCZF on EDG, where Zero plays a really supportive role. He has that kind of one-man army AD carry with Uzi, so he's just sitting back. The Zero build is rushing Captain's Boots to make your team more fast, so this guy's like a true support in that sense.
And I'm actually interested in this match just in general because it's an intra-region fight, the first we've had so far at Worlds. And overall, these two teams are incredibly close. The actual total record between these two squads is 4-3 in favor of Royal Club, 3-1 in their favor in the regular season, a 2-1 in the Chinese regional finals for EDG. So it kind of depends which of those two teams shows up. The regular season one where Starhorn Royal Club is better, or the playoff Edward Gaming where they won the whole thing.
Double F, that's a question I want to ask you. When you look at these two teams, considering Starhorn, Sean, and Edward Gaming did not, who will show up in this quarterfinal series in your mind?
It's so close, but I have to go with EDG 3-2. It is super hard for me to call because I think it could go definitely either way. But in my opinion, the fact that EDG even made it out of groups with an underperforming AD carry just goes to show this is a really good team. They can work together to win. Where on Starhorn Royal Club, I feel like Uzi is like kind of the pillar of that team. And if they shut him down, then that team falls apart.
Monte Cristo, is this an opinion you share as well?
I'm taking EDG 3-1 here. And the reason why is I think, again, we've talked about this. This is an opponent that they know. This is the momentum they need. They've had an additional couple weeks to work out all the kinks that they were having before. And the other reason is EDG is a team that always didn't do amazingly in the kind of league part of the LPL. But when it comes to the best of series, when it comes to those high pressure knockout moments in the playoffs, they always delivered. And I think they'll do it again here.
I actually think Royal Club's going to be the one taking the series 3-2. I agree, EDG has to step up, and they will step up, but I don't think it will be up enough to the point where they will take the series.
And I actually agree with Karpo here. I do think that it's going to be Starhorn Royal Club. I also say 3-2 along with you. And the main reason for me is even though EDG are fighting more familiar opponents, and even though they are a very strong team, it is still the first international tournament for 3 of the players on this roster here, and I'm not sure how well they've acclimated to playing in front of foreign audience, to playing in foreign countries, and I think it's going to be a difficult road for them.
Just before we move on, Crepo, the last time you put your faith in Royal, you tore up a train ticket and believed in the Royal Lucian. That did not pan out to be true. What is the likelihood of the same prediction happening when we get to this quarterfinal?
To be fair, I had a spare ticket in my pocket. I still own that one, and I was still secretly riding that SKT hype train. This time, I actually believe Royal's going to take it.
And also keep in mind, though, Edward Gaming could just ban Lucian, and then there will be no Royal Lucian in any of the games.
All right, well, we'll see how it pans out. Before we get to our last quarterfinal matchup, Najin White Shield versus OMG, we need to take a step back and relive one of the most intense, unbelievable, get up and scream at the monitor moments in League of Legends history. It's OMG versus Fnatic, World's All Chat Edition.
I have TP when I come back. Coming too. Good. I have TP when I come back. Can I TP top? They don't have TP. I TP top. I'm right behind you. I TP top. I TP top.
They can go human. Bottom side.
Chase.
Bottom side of jungle.
Can they TP on me?
Soaz trying to be the hero. The recall's coming in, but Soaz was on it. One goes back, the rest come in. He's got the damage here, but the super minions are coming in. I say he's not got the damage, but the Nexus, he's down to half HP. He's already used his flash, and he will end up falling down.
Yeah, but they're playing the stop the recall game, and Reckless is on the heels right now. One of the big damage dealers, Going's gonna make it in. Can Cyanide slip in as the spider on this one? Will they be able to get it? Peke up from the Guardian Angel. A few more hits. Will this really happen? 66 seconds. They saved the Nexus.
大姐没状态，没事，别急。He's gonna come with Hongo. He's back. He's run.
Never seen a professional game this close.
Needed one more 8 though.
Absolutely unbelievable game. Words cannot express how those players must have been thinking and feeling.
I think the team name says it right, OMG.
Right, with that, let's move on to OMG's next monumental task. It is our 4th quarterfinal matchup of the 2014 World Championship. Korea's Najin White Shield versus China's OMG. Najin White Shield was the favorite heading into Group D, but things were much closer than their 5-2 record would suggest. Alliance and Cloud9 each secured a win off the Korean squad, and it took a tie-breaking extra game for Shield to walk away with the top spot. Leading the way for Shield was their mid laner Goong, whose 9.57 KDA was second amongst mid laners, making the trip to Busan.
And on Sunday, Shield will be facing China's OMG, who was only picked by one of the analysts on the preview show. But while they advanced to Busan, OMG had a rough but successful time in what everyone was calling the Group of Death. They were the only team in the quarterfinals to lose 3 games. Their 2.95 KDA is the second worst, and their average game time of 40 minutes, 24 seconds was actually the longest among the top 8. But if it wasn't for that amazing base defense against Fnatic, OMG wouldn't even have made it this far. But they did defend the base, they did secure the win, and now they're competing in their 2nd straight World Championship quarterfinal.
All right, let's talk about these two teams just a little deeper. Both of them demonstrating weaknesses in the group stage. Monte Cristo, what's your take in this game?
I'm actually really excited because of the save going matchup in the top lane. I am a great lover of top carries, and we have probably the 2 best ones in the tournament going head-to-head in a best of 5. Ryze should be a very contested champion from these guys. Really dangerous to give either of these players. I think Save's deeper champion pool is the edge, as well as Save's willingness to split push when he gets ahead, whereas OMG seems to only have that 5v5 grouping and team fighting. I feel that Shield is more diverse strategically.
I think Going is used to these sort of top lane brawls, though. I think back to their Chinese LPL playoffs against Starhorn Royal Club, where Royal spent 28 of their 30 bans on top lane champions. And OMG still managed to pull out the win there. So I think Going can handle that kind of a test. But the matchup I really like is the mid lane matchup between Goong and Cool. Cool is the primary carrier for OMG. I think he can break the map apart by himself, and the team relies on him so darn much. Goong actually also impressed me heavily. I think he was one of the primary forces as well for Najin Shield. If they won, it was because he got a freaking ton of kills, and that will be a very interesting matchup in the mid lane.
And I've just been keeping my eye this entire tournament on supports because I think there's such a skill disparity between a lot of these teams, and this is the perfect example. Gorilla is the guy who made a ridiculous comeback for Shield when they were down 0-7 against Alliance. He was one who was able to pull the trigger and make those plays happen so they could come back into the game. And it just seems to be Gorilla who's just like the glue that holds that team together. But Dada777, really unimpressive. He's definitely, to me, the weak link of OMG. It's amazing that San is even able to put up good numbers on that team with such a lackluster support. So I'm just really going to look forward to watching those two play against each other.
Well, you've been looking at supports and watching them. I'm looking at a support and watching him. Who is your prediction for this quarterfinal and why?
I think Shield's gonna take the series 3-1. I feel if they can lose against OMG's brute force style, but I feel if they don't gut themselves with a draft, leaving them with no wave clear at all, they should be strategically better and individually slightly better as well to take the series 3-1.
Yes, I'm also for Shield 3-1. I just think that support controls the tempo of the game so well mid-game and is such a big playmaking powerhouse that the skill disparity just won't be enough for OMG to win.
Yeah, I got to agree, too. It's going to be 3-1 to Shield, I think. And again, it's that disparity in the strategy. If we think about OMG, they don't really do anything besides group as 5 and try and team fight. Shield is a very good team at doing that, and it's split pushing. Also, role for role, you look at this and you say, okay, it's about even. Both of these teams are powered by their solo lane carries. But then you look at the duo lane and you remember that it's Gorilla versus Dada777, and that is just a massive, massive edge to Najin Shield.
Well, I actually think it's going to be a much closer match than you guys are saying. It's really hard for me to call. I'm going to say 3-2, and ultimately I will say that Shield is probably going to win. But again, I think it's incredibly close. I think you're overstating the early game of Shield a little bit. We've seen them get repeatedly shut out early on, and OMG are very well poised to strike at that, though I think the strategic power of Shield will probably make them win the series. Again, 3-2 Shield for me.
I like hearing the difference of opinion, and we'll see which opinion is going to come out on top. So you've heard what these guys think and who they feel will be advancing to the semifinals, and now it's actually your turn at home to pick him. Head over to pickhim.lolesports.com to choose your winners for the knockout stage.
And even if you didn't get your picks in time for the group stage, you have a second chance. From now until the start of the first match, you can make your choices and share your picks with your friends to prove who's smarter. Like, for example, in a hypothetical situation, whoever chose OMG to get out of the group stages on the analyst desk.
Who was that?
Just saying, right? Well done, Freak. Well done, Freak. All right, anyways, let's recharge your neurons with some of the completely insane plays straight out of Singapore, or as Reckless can now call it, the Penta. Coming in at number 5, Spirit and Dade in perfect harmony.
Drawn out, spread out team fight here. Trying to get the little skirmishes, but in goes Spirit! Straight on, perfectly placed on towards Cool. They get themselves a double. Lock around the side. Lovely tries to escape here, but that was a very quick, clean double kill for Dade. This was blue. As soon as they group up, huge advantage.
Boom.
Take that combo.
And number 4, it's Tinones with the wicked play.
They're going to try and push up mid as quick as possible. Alliance have to swing around and sweep and try and cause this one. The charm catches on Wicked. Tinones goes in. He's got him. He takes him down.
And at number 3, Balls puts Cloud9 into the quarterfinals with a well-placed equalizer.
To the side falls. He's going to be the focus, but he flashes. The Cocoon misses. Oh, they've got the charm high though. He will put down his death mark. Goon uses his own. Gorilla low in the back. Sneaky coming around after using his QSS. He's going to be Cloud9 to win this one. They take out one. They're going to Zephyr. It's the aim for Cloud9. They can go through and win.
Coming in at number 2, Xpeke shows that he is a flippin' ninja.
Oh, shadow used.
Deathmark going down, but is it going to be enough Sunday? It's going to be a... Whoa!
We have to see that one again in slow-mo.
Xpeke on the ignite. Not enough to finish off either. The burst just enough to get Peke the kill and survive.
What a pure outplay from Peke.
And your number 1 play from Singapore is Reckless's pentakill.
Oh, Death Crush. Who's going to be the first target? Ackerman actually diving to the backside, but he's going to be going down quickly. Yellow Star actually focused by Vasily, trying to get the resets. There's the equalizer. They've got to walk back over it. Double kill for Reckless. Can he get any more here? He will get more. And now they're on towards No Name. Are they trying to give a pentakill over to Reckless? They are. There's the Quadra. Can he get himself the pentakill? Cyanide and Peke both closing in. There's the slow. Shaolin Shao goes over the wall. Reckless comes in. He gets the pentakill.
18 kills for Reckless? That's absolutely absurd. Absolutely insane, Jat. Before we wrap up this edition of the World's Preview Show, let's take one last look back at some of the most surreal moments from the group stage at Singapore. Or as OMG's Nexus calls it, not the last hit.
You almost don't believe that it could happen.
Will this really happen? 66 seconds, they save the Nexus. That's game! That's game! And Cloud9 takes down Shield. Kaboom! They flick the fuse! And I can't believe it, D-Man! What the hell just happened?
This is not Dream Jack.
Yeah.
I believe it. I saw it. I just
happened. Yeah, it definitely happened.